From the outside, Ethan Cole's life looked like the textbook definition of success. Raised in a tight-knit family that valued loyalty and hard work, Ethan had always been determined and focused. His father, a self-made entrepreneur, drilled into him the importance of discipline and doing the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. Ethan took those lessons to heart. With a business degree from a respected university and a knack for numbers, Ethan had a smooth transition into the family's growing tire company. He eventually took over the accounting department, combining skill with integrity. But he wasn't in it just for the prestige. Ethan craved purpose, stability, and a meaningful life. Enter Vanessa Reed. Vanessa had a magnetic presence, charming, driven, and laser-focused on success. She grew up with little but dreamed big, determined to leave her modest background behind. Real estate became her vehicle, and by the time she met Ethan in college, her career blueprint was already set in stone. Their connection was instant. Both ambitious and hardworking, they quickly became inseparable. A whirlwind romance followed, and soon after graduation, they married and bought a cozy home. On paper, it was a dream. Ethan ran the numbers at his father's firm, and Vanessa hustled through the real estate world, earning praise and prestige. Together, they looked like the ultimate power couple. But behind the polished image, trouble was brewing. Vanessa's growing success pulled her into a flashy world, lavish parties, elite clients, constant networking. Ethan started noticing the shift. She was home less, distracted more, buried in late-night meetings and weekend showings. He tried to stay close, date nights, conversations, anything to keep their connection alive, but Vanessa seemed to drift further every day. Then came the blow that shattered it all. One night, Ethan lounged on the couch, scrolling his phone, when a call from Vanessa came in. Her voice shook. Instantly, Ethan felt something was wrong. Just hours earlier, a private investigator he'd quietly hired gave him brutal news. Vanessa was boarding a flight to Honolulu, not for business, not with friends, but with another man. A romantic getaway. 1 week. Just the two of them. The betrayal hit like a punch to the gut. Ethan was left replaying every moment, every red flag he'd ignored. He leaned back, coffee in hand, and let his mind wander back to the beginning. 13 years earlier, they'd met in college. Fell in love. Built a life. Bought a home. Shared successes. But not everything was perfect. Vanessa had told him early on she couldn't have kids tubes tied. When Ethan suggested adoption, she shot it down, cold and final. Over time, he gave up on fatherhood, accepting they'd be childless. Lately, though, something had felt off. Vanessa was out more. What started as casual drinks with friends turned into multiple late nights every week. Ethan voiced his concerns, but she brushed them aside. Just work, she claimed. But one night, she came home smelling like cigarette smoke, her excuse flimsy. Drinks and dancing, she said. Ethan didn't buy it. She apologized, but the air between them stayed tense. Their intimacy dwindled. Once affectionate and close, Vanessa now barely engaged. Sex became rare, and her interest in Ethan's life vanished altogether. Then, he caught her in a lie. He stopped by her office to surprise her with lunch, only to find she'd left hours earlier. That night, she claimed she'd been working all day. Ethan didn't confront her, but it stung. He began to wonder how many other lies he'd swallowed without knowing. Later that evening, in bed, he opened up about his fears. Vanessa reassured him with soft words and empty promises. They made love that night. Ethan tried to believe it meant something, but the disconnect lingered. For a short while, things seemed to improve. Vanessa acted more engaged, more present. But the warmth didn't last. The emotional distance returned, leaving Ethan feeling more alone than ever. He couldn't shake the question, what's happening to us? Then came the call from Luke Foster. An old friend, Luke asked to meet for a drink. It's important, he said. Curious, Ethan agreed. Oddly, Vanessa was already home when he left, earlier than usual, which raised an eyebrow. At the bar, Luke didn't hold back. I saw Vanessa today while I was jogging, he said. Didn't know she was into PDA with clients. Ethan blinked. What are you talking about? She was with some guy on Riverside Drive. They were holding hands, kissing, like a couple. Ethan's chest tightened. You sure it was her? Luke showed him a photo. It was Vanessa. No doubt. Ethan stared in disbelief. Send me that. Luke did, then leaned in. What now? I don't know, Ethan muttered. I didn't expect this. I know a guy, Luke offered. Private investigator. He's good. Yeah, Ethan nodded. Set it up. I need the truth. Later that night, Ethan returned home. Vanessa was in the kitchen, smiling like everything was normal. "You're home early," he said, kissing her cheek. "Not that I'm complaining." She kissed him back. "You were with Luke?" "Yeah," he replied. "Didn't think you'd be home yet." "Everything okay with him?" she asked casually. "Not really," Ethan said, watching her closely. "He found out his friend's wife is cheating." Vanessa's eyes widened too quickly. "Seriously?" Ethan nodded. "Caught her today. Kissing some guy." Vanessa tensed, just for a second, then recovered. "Maybe he got it wrong." Ethan studied her face. "I'm just glad I don't have that problem." Vanessa exhaled, her voice syrupy smooth. "I'd be devastated if that ever happened to me." She exhaled and smiled. "I'd be devastated if that ever happened to me." Ethan kissed her forehead, trying to shake off the unease. "I'm glad to hear that." "I love you, Jace," she whispered, tugging him closer. Ethan sensed something off in her voice, but he let it slide for now. "So, what brings you home early?" he asked, shifting the subject. "Oh, the conference is this weekend," she said cheerily. "Figured I'd pack and spend a little time with you before I go." "Where's it at this year?" Ethan asked, playing it cool. "Las Vegas. Westgate Resort. Supposed to be really nice for stars, I think." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I've heard of it. There'll be some free time too," she added with a wink. "When do you leave?" "Friday, right after lunch." "Think you're up for another award?" Ethan asked, knowing how often she was recognized. Vanessa shrugged. "Probably. They haven't announced anything yet, but I've got a good feeling." They kissed again, but Ethan couldn't silence the thoughts spinning in his head. Her behavior had been strange, and every little thing felt like a clue he didn't quite understand yet. "Why don't I walk you upstairs and properly congratulate you on another big year?" he offered, trying to push the doubt away. Vanessa grinned and grabbed his hand. "I was wondering when you'd make a move." They made love that night, but Ethan couldn't shake the sense that something was deeply wrong. Was this upcoming conference really just work? Or was it a cover? Trying to ease the tension, Ethan said casually, "Hey, I've got some time off coming up. Maybe I could tag along to Vegas. Might be fun to get away. Reconnect. Our 10-year anniversary's right around the corner," he added, searching her face. "That's sweet," Vanessa replied. "But I'll be swamped with seminars, and I've got to stay a few extra days for work." Ethan hid his disappointment. "All right. Maybe we can celebrate when you're back." She smiled. "I'll miss you." The next morning, Ethan contacted Luke and got the private investigator's number. Before lunch, he met the man, Jerry, an older guy with a weathered look that said he'd seen it all. "So she's going to Vegas," Jerry said, raising an eyebrow. "You think she's meeting someone?" "I don't know," Ethan admitted. "But something doesn't feel right. I've got a few people in Vegas. We'll keep eyes on her. We can even plant a camera in the hotel room, but that'll cost more." "I just need the truth," Ethan said evenly. Jerry handed him a small, voice-activated recorder. "Slip this under her car seat. It'll pick up everything through Bluetooth." Ethan took it and handed over cash, money he'd set aside for a vacation that clearly wasn't happening now. Later, as Vanessa packed, Ethan helped her load the car. Her bags looked excessive for a weekend trip. "A lot of stuff for just a couple of days," he remarked. Curious, he peeked inside one. A nearly empty container of birth control pills, only 10 left. His stomach turned. Didn't she say her tubes were tied? The bag was stuffed with workwear, tight party dresses, and lingerie that left nothing to the imagination. One bikini was practically dental floss. Ethan quietly took photos with his phone. After she left, he slipped the recorder under her seat and watched her drive away, the weight in his chest heavy. "This could be the last time I ever see her as my wife," he thought. The next morning, over breakfast, Vanessa handed him her room number and kissed his cheek. "I'll call every night. I love you." "I love you too," Ethan replied, but his mind was already somewhere else. He sent the room info to Jerry, who replied immediately. "I'm on it." A few hours later, Vanessa called from the airport. "Just wanted to say I made it safely." "Good," Ethan said, keeping his tone steady. "I'll check in later tonight." "Love you." "Love you too," he said, but inside, he thought, "Yeah, love me while lying to my face." As he hung up, he noticed his father standing in the doorway, his expression full of concern. "You all right, son?" Ethan let out a long breath. "I don't know, Dad." They moved into the study, and Ethan laid everything out, the late nights, the lies, the private investigator. His father looked stunned. "That doesn't sound like her." "I mean, Vanessa." Ethan shrugged. "It doesn't add up, but it's happening." "Well, we're here for you. Whatever you need." "Thanks, Dad," Ethan said, genuinely grateful. That afternoon, he left work early and drove to the airport to retrieve the recorder. Her car sat neatly in the short-term lot, spotless and carefully arranged, so very Vanessa. On the drive home, his phone rang. "Hey, baby," Vanessa chirped. "Just wanted to let you know I'm all settled." "I'm glad," Ethan said flatly. "I'll call you tonight." "Love you." "Love you too," he said, barely getting the words out. At home, Ethan plugged in the recorder, expecting either silence or mundane chatter. But halfway through the playback, everything changed. Through the car's Bluetooth, Vanessa's phone rang. The recording picked it up clearly. "Hey, baby," a man's voice said. Vanessa giggled. "Hello, stallion." Ethan's stomach flipped. "You're such a stud," she cooed. His heart pounded in his ears. "What the hell is this?" "I can't wait to see you again," the man said. "Last week was amazing." "I'm glad you liked it," Vanessa purred. "So, are we set for next week?" Ethan sat frozen. "Next week?" "Yeah, all set," the man replied. "Did you tell your husband?" "Not yet," she said, her tone breezy. "But don't worry. I've got it all under control. He doesn't know anything, right?" "Nope," Vanessa said coldly. "He's clueless. I can tell him whatever I want. He buys it every time." Ethan's hands trembled as he paused the recording. His mind reeled. "She's planning something, and I'm not part of it. This is our anniversary week." The thought hit Ethan just as the voice on the recorder chimed in again. "I'm almost at the airport now. I'll see you at the hotel tonight, okay?" "I can't wait," Vanessa replied, her voice full of giddy excitement. "Bye, love." "Bye," the man answered, and the call ended. Ethan sat frozen, staring at the device like it might vanish if he blinked hard enough. He played it again. Same voices. Same words. Same knife in the gut. It wasn't a mistake. Vanessa was cheating, and it wasn't just a slip or a fling. She was planning a romantic reunion during what should have been their 10-year anniversary. He leaned back, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sank into his chair. His thoughts spiraled. How long has this been going on? Who is this guy? What else has she been hiding? Ethan had always respected Vanessa's space. But now, everything was different. He walked into the bedroom and opened the drawer where he knew she kept her office key hidden among the trinkets in her jewelry box. With a sense of resolve he hadn't felt before, he grabbed it and went straight to her desk. What he found rattled him to his core. There were bank statements, dozens of them, showing she had squirreled away more than $250,000 in a separate account he'd never seen. That was news in itself, but the purchases told an even darker story, a receipt for a men's Rolex watch. Ethan had never received such a gift, but maybe her lover did. Next, he found receipts for lingerie he'd never seen her wear. Risque, expensive pieces, clearly bought for someone else. And then, hidden deep beneath a pile of receipts, he saw something that made his stomach drop: medical paperwork from Planned Parenthood. 2 abortions. Paid in full. In cash. Within the past 2 years. His chest tightened. Had either of those pregnancies been his? The last blow came in the form of a pharmacy receipt Plan B, purchased just days after one of the rare nights they'd been intimate. Then he found it, the one that confirmed everything. A hefty down payment on a luxury apartment in a high-end part of town. Was she planning to leave him? Or was this the hideaway for her and the other man? He stared at the set of keys on her ring and wondered which one belonged to this secret condo. He'd figure it out soon enough. Fueled by rage and disbelief, Ethan powered on her laptop. He knew she kept a list of passwords saved somewhere, and it didn't take him long to find it. Within minutes, he was inside her email. And there it was. A name. Over and over. Derek Morgan. Their email thread went back almost a year. Message after message, flirty, explicit, detailed. Vanessa's replies had a sickening familiarity. The dates matched the timeline when Ethan first started noticing her distancing behavior. Their rendezvous had started in hotel rooms. But later, it seemed, she'd been using property she was selling as their playground. Then Ethan hit on one email that answered a lingering question. "Did you take care of that little issue?" Derek had asked. "Yeah," Vanessa replied. "I had a termination today. Too bad you didn't keep him," Derek responded. "You could have passed him off as Ethan's." "I couldn't," Vanessa wrote back. "He thinks I can't have kids. He'd know it wasn't his." Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. He remembered that lie. He remembered how easily she dismissed adoption. She had built their entire future on a foundation of deception. More emails followed. At one point, Derek suggested they have sex in Ethan and Vanessa's own bed. Vanessa refused. "I won't do that to Ethan," she wrote. But Derek kept pushing. "That idiot has no clue. Does he?" No, Vanessa replied. But I'm not crossing that line. Then came Derek's idea. What if you got your own place? Use your commissions. Ethan would never notice. Vanessa didn't say no. You might be onto something, she wrote. I've got my own account. Ethan never asked about it. I'll see what's available. That email was dated 3 months ago. Then Ethan saw the confirmation. The down payment had gone through a month later. I bought a condo, Vanessa emailed Derek. Furniture's coming next week. Ethan doesn't know a thing. Derek's response was gleeful. Perfect. We'll break in every room. Ethan leaned back, stunned, eyes locked on the screen. This wasn't just an affair, it was an entirely separate life. In another message, Derek asked her, why not just leave Ethan and move in with me? Vanessa's reply chilled him. I still have feelings for him. He's a pain, but he treats me well. I bought the condo so we have privacy. No more hotels. Besides, you're still married. Derek promised he'd leave his wife in a heartbeat if Vanessa asked him to. Vanessa's reply? We'll see. After the conference. Ethan froze. What conference? The one she just left for? His heart pounded as the final pieces started falling into place. He began printing out the emails, the receipts, everything. That's when his phone rang. Vanessa. Hey, baby, she said sweetly. How are you? You sound a little off. Ethan swallowed the fury. Headache. Nothing major. Oh no. Well, I'm getting ready for bed now. You should rest too. Take something. I love you. He hesitated. Yeah, me too. He hung up fast, his jaw clenched tight. She has no idea how close I am to blowing this all up. After the call, Ethan sat in silence, the rage bubbling. He needed to know more. He opened Vanessa's work website and searched for Derek Morgan. There he was, regional manager. Her boss. Of course. Ethan printed Derek's profile and added it to the growing stack of evidence. But he couldn't sit still. He needed answers, and he was going to get them. Back in Vanessa's paperwork, he spotted an address for the condo, and below it, a note labeled alarm system. It listed a string of numbers. Ethan snorted. Of course she wrote it down. He walked out to the garage and pulled on a pair of latex gloves. It was time to see the place she thought he'd never find. Ethan made sure he left no trace behind. Finding the apartment complex wasn't difficult. He pulled into the space marked with Vanessa's name, slipped on a pair of latex gloves, and tested a few keys. The third one clicked. He stepped inside and immediately punched in the alarm code he'd found scribbled on her papers. Silence followed. He was in. The place was immaculate. Clean lines, modern furniture, neutral tones with trendy accents, very Vanessa. Ethan couldn't deny it. The woman had great taste. Too bad her loyalty doesn't match her design skills, he muttered. But what struck him most? There wasn't a single picture of him. No trace of their marriage anywhere. This wasn't just a condo, it was an escape hatch. He moved from room to room, noting the details. The kitchen was spotless, the fridge and pantry completely empty. The living room boasted a massive flat screen and a carefully arranged bookshelf full of decor books, not novels. It was a stage, not a home. In the bedroom, he spotted the lace curtains Vanessa always adored, draped down over an electric heater. Fire hazard, Ethan thought absently. He opened the dresser drawers. What he found made his stomach twist. Dozens of pieces of lingerie, none of which he'd ever seen her wear. And beneath them, men's underwear. Expensive brands, wrong sizes. Not his. He pulled out his phone and started snapping photos. In the nightstand, a greeting card sat neatly tucked away. Thanks for the watch. Can't wait for your housewarming party. Love, Derek. Ethan's grip tightened. His blood boiled. In the bathroom, 2 toothbrushes sat in a holder, his and hers. Matching towels labeled for him and for her hung on the rack. This wasn't a fling. This was a second life. In the spare bedroom, a desk held a few unopened utility bills addressed to Vanessa. Ethan photographed everything. Another set of lace curtains covered the window, again draped over a heater. Another fire hazard. He shook his head. A quick sweep of the kitchen revealed more issues, an ancient smoke detector and none in the bedrooms. It figured Vanessa was detail-oriented when it came to appearances, but careless about what actually mattered. Once everything was documented, he set the apartment exactly as he'd found it, rearmed the security system, and locked the door behind him. Sitting in his car, Ethan tried to breathe. He'd seen enough. There was no salvaging the marriage now, not after this. Even if Vanessa broke it off with Derek and sold the condo, the trust was obliterated. But this time, he wasn't going to be the one who lost everything. Vanessa earned far more than he did, and with no kids in the picture, He hoped he could avoid paying alimony altogether. He planned to speak with a lawyer soon, and the fact that the condo was solely in Vanessa's name? That could work in his favor. She had checked out of the marriage the moment she signed that lease. Still, it wasn't enough to walk away. Ethan wanted consequences, real ones. Not revenge, not violence. That wasn't him. But he wanted the truth exposed. He wanted Vanessa and Derek to pay. Back at home, Ethan pulled out the phone book and looked up Derek Morgan. One number looked promising. He dialed. A woman answered. Morgan residence. Is this Mrs. Morgan? He asked. Yes. Who's calling? My name's Ethan Cole, he said, steady and calm. Your husband is Derek Morgan, regional manager at Acme Real Estate? That's correct, she replied, confused. But he's out of town this weekend, visiting several offices. Ethan hesitated for just a second. Actually, Mrs. Morgan, I was hoping to speak with you. Oh, she said, now clearly thrown off. I'm afraid I have some difficult news. My wife, she's having an affair. With your husband. There was a pause on the line. Then, are you sure? I'm positive, Ethan said. And I can prove it. You have actual evidence? She asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and dread. I do. And if you're willing, I can show you exactly where they've been meeting. Another pause. Then a long exhale. Would tomorrow work? Absolutely, Ethan said. What time? Let's say 1 p.m.? Ethan gave her the address to Vanessa's condo, then walked her through directions. I'll see you then, he said, hanging up with a strange sense of clarity. When the call ended, he grabbed a pen and notepad and started jotting down his next moves. First on the list, change the locks. He was tempted to drown his frustration in a bottle, but thought better of it. Instead, he grabbed a leftover slice of cold pizza and mentally prepared for the day ahead. Later, he climbed the stairs to bed, more resolved than ever. The next morning, Ethan was up early. He hit the hardware store, buying a full lock replacement kit and a fresh copy of the condo key. By noon, every lock in the house had been changed. After a quick shower, he gathered everything he'd need for the meeting: emails, audio recordings, photos. He tucked them neatly into a folder. At 12:50, he pulled up to the condo. A woman sat in a nearby Toyota Corolla, anxiously glancing at her phone. Ethan approached, rapping gently on the driver's side window. She looked up. Are you Ethan Cole? That's me, he said with a nod. Christy Morgan? Yes. He opened her door like a gentleman. Come on. I'll show you where they've been hiding their little secret life. Before she stepped out, he handed her a pair of latex gloves. Just in case, he said. I don't want either of us leaving fingerprints. Christy nodded, slipping them on. Smart. Ethan led her to the door and unlocked it. The security system gave its soft chime and disarmed. Inside, he moved with confidence, walking her through the apartment. In the bedroom, he pulled open a drawer and gestured toward the contents. Christy's breath caught. Oh my God, those are Derek's clothes. I've been looking for these for weeks. Her voice trembled. And that was just the beginning. I had no idea where Derek's clothes had gone, Christy said, her voice low. Scanning the apartment. Has he been wearing a Rolex lately? Ethan asked, already knowing the answer. She nodded slowly. Yeah. He told me it was a company gift. Ethan let out a bitter breath and pulled out the card from Vanessa's nightstand. He handed it to her, already opened. Christy read the handwritten note. Her fingers trembled. This is his handwriting, she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. Ethan nodded. I'm sorry. He turned on the audio recorder, letting her hear Vanessa and Derek's call from the previous Friday. Then he handed her a stack of the printed emails. Christy wiped her face and gave him a weak smile. It's not your fault. Honestly, I've had my suspicions for a while, but I didn't have proof. Until now. Ethan gave her a moment. Then she looked up, a bit more composed. So, what's your plan? I'm divorcing her, Ethan said flatly. Christy's jaw clenched. Same. The second that idiot walks in the door, I'm throwing him out. She paused, then grinned through her drying tears. You know, I have an idea. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. They want to play house together, right? Why don't we help them out? Ethan frowned. Help them? Let's move all their stuff here, she said, eyes gleaming. They clearly wanted a shared space. Ethan paused, then a grin broke across his face. You know what? That's brilliant. But we better act fast. They'll be back in a day or two. Christy shook her head. Derek told me he'd be out of town all week after the conference. And let's face it, Vanessa will find a reason to extend her stay too. Ethan's mind flashed back to the call from Vanessa where she vaguely asked if he had everything ready for next week. Damn, You're probably right. Let's meet back here in 3 hours, Christy suggested. Pack whatever junk of theirs you don't want. Deal? Ethan said, standing. Trash bags it is. As she walked out, Ethan caught himself watching her. She was shorter than Vanessa, leaner, and had a soft, genuine smile. How the hell did Derek cheat on her? They drove back to their homes, gathered everything their cheating spouses had left behind, and returned 3 hours later, both cars filled with bags. They tossed them into the guest room with zero concern for damage. I didn't bother folding anything, Christy said casually. Me neither, Ethan replied with a chuckle. They exchanged a high five. I don't know about you, Ethan said, but I'm starving. Same, Christy grinned. I could go for a big, greasy cheeseburger. Say no more, Ethan said. I've got just the place. Then I'm buying, she said, playful now. Lead the way, Ethan replied. They headed to the local bar Ethan and Luke frequented. As they pulled into the parking lot, Christy gave him a side eye. A bar. Trust me, Ethan said, smiling. Best burgers in town. All right, she said skeptically. Just don't start pouring shots and making moves. Ethan laughed. As tempting as that is. I'm not that guy. Damn shame, she said with a smirk as they walked in. They grabbed a booth and ordered burgers, fries, and a round of beers. Conversation flowed easily as they shared stories from their now crumbling marriages. Turns out, Christy had met Derek in college too. They married young. She'd wanted kids. He hadn't. Eventually, Derek got into real estate, while she took a job in accounts receivable at a remodeling firm. Are you a CPA? Ethan asked. She shook her head. No, not yet. It's something I've thought about doing. Well, if you're ever looking, my dad's company is always hiring solid people. You send me your resume, we'll see what we can do. She smiled. Thanks, Mr. Cole. I just might. Right then, Ethan's phone buzzed. It was Vanessa. He answered calmly. Hello. Hey, baby, Vanessa slurred. She sounded tipsy. What are you up to? Just grabbing a burger at the bar, Ethan replied evenly. Really? She laughed. You sound off. Guess what? I won Best Salesperson. I'm happy for you, he said, voice flat. They want me to stay in Vegas next week to help train the agents, she added quickly. Isn't that amazing? They're even talking about promoting me soon. Ethan clenched his jaw. Lying again. Unbelievable. That's great, he said. Congratulations. Vanessa hesitated, then asked, what about our anniversary? It's Wednesday. I know, Ethan said, but I get it. Maybe we can celebrate next weekend. Your work's important. Wouldn't want you to miss a big opportunity. What's that supposed to mean? She snapped. Nothing, Ethan replied. Just saying, 10 years of marriage isn't something that happens every day. But I understand. Your career comes first. Yes, it does, Vanessa said sharply. But I thought you'd be proud of me. I am, he said. Go train your agents. Don't worry about me. I love you, she added after a pause. Ethan didn't even flinch. Yeah, me too. She hung up. Ethan stared at the phone for a second before turning to Christy. So that's that. Christy shook her head. She's really choosing Derek over your anniversary? Ethan nodded, swallowing hard. Christy reached across the table and gently touched his hand. That woman doesn't deserve you. Ethan gave a broken smile. A man I barely know cares more about me than she does. Christy whispered, what a witch. I'm sorry, she added softly. Thanks, Ethan said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out Jerry's card. Dialed the number. Jerry, Ethan said when the line picked up. It's Ethan Cole. Just got off the phone with Vanessa. She say anything interesting? Jerry asked. She's claiming she's staying in Vegas for another week. You believe her? Not for a second. Well, Jerry said, funny you should call. I was just working on your report. We'll keep an eye on them. And I've got something else for you. Ethan sat up straight. Go on. Your wife and her lover spent the night together, Jerry said flatly. I've got video footage. I'll send it over. It'll be included in the final report too. Ethan exhaled slowly. Sounds good. Thanks, Jerry. He hung up the phone and turned to Christy. Well, tomorrow we'll know everything. My investigator caught them on camera. Christy looked down, hesitant. Do I want to watch it? No, but I feel like I should. Ethan nodded. Let's go to my place. They paid the bill and left the bar in silence, each consumed by their own thoughts. By the time they arrived at Ethan's house and settled into his office, the email had come through. Want something to drink before we dive into this? Ethan asked gently. Sure. A Coke, if you have one. He returned from the kitchen with 2 chilled cans and handed one to her. They sat side by side as Ethan hit play. What they saw was painful. Vanessa and Derek, laughing, touching, completely at ease in each other's arms, engaged in multiple sexual acts. Neither Ethan nor Christy spoke as the footage played. Their eyes burned, but they held back tears. Then came the pillow talk. And somehow, that was worse. "So, what do you think our spouses are doing now?" Vanessa asked with a smug smirk. "If I know Christy," Derek replied, "she's probably curled up with one of her boring books or watching some lame movie." Vanessa laughed. "Yeah, Ethan's probably glued to a spreadsheet or reading stock reports like it actually matters. It's not like he's saving the world." Derek snorted. "His dad sells tires. What's so world-changing about that?" Ethan's jaw clenched. "What are you going to tell that idiot after the awards banquet tomorrow?" Derek asked. "I'll just say I have to stay in Vegas another week to help the reps," Vanessa said, smug. "He'll believe it. He believes everything I say. I could tell him the moon's made of green cheese and he'd nod like a puppy." Ethan flinched, then exhaled slowly. "By the time he figures anything out, we'll be sipping cocktails on a beach in Hawaii," Derek added. "Can't wait to see you in that new bikini." Christy's eyes narrowed. Her whole face tensed. "Hawaii?" she snapped, then nearly shouted, "That idiot's taking that tramp to Hawaii. I swear I'm going to rip his." She stopped and turned to Ethan. "Sorry for calling your wife a tramp." Ethan shook his head. "No apology needed. I'd have called her worse." They sat back as the video kept playing. "What about your anniversary?" Derek asked. Vanessa shrugged. "Hawaii's more exciting than a night at some steakhouse. It's just our 10th. There'll be others." Derek looked at her like even he was surprised. "You're cold." Vanessa smiled. "I don't care about that stuff. I need you now." The screen showed them tangled together again, and Ethan reached over and shut it off. "I've seen enough." "More than enough," Christy whispered, her voice tight with emotion. Ethan looked over at her. "I'm meeting with a divorce lawyer on Monday. Do you mind if I come with you?" Christy asked quietly. "Not at all." The moment cracked her composure. Christy broke down, sobbing into her hands. Ethan leaned over and wrapped an arm around her, holding her gently. He wanted to cry too, but held it in, focusing on comforting her instead. "Do you mind if I stay here tonight?" she asked softly. "I don't want anything, just to be held." "Of course you can stay," Ethan said. "As long as you need." "Thank you," she whispered. "I can't believe I wasted all those years believing him. I was so blind." "I know the feeling," Ethan replied. He led her upstairs and handed her a worn t-shirt to sleep in. Christy took it with a faint smile and slipped into the bathroom to change. Ethan changed into pajama pants and sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. When she emerged, the oversized shirt hung past her knees, and Ethan nearly did a double take. He'd always thought Vanessa had nice legs. But Christy's, they were elegant, graceful, effortlessly beautiful. She smiled shyly as she slid under the covers. "Something wrong?" she asked. Ethan cleared his throat. "Just, never seen legs like yours before." Christy laughed softly. "Flattery will get you everywhere, sir." He pulled her close, wrapping his arm around her, breathing in the soft scent of her hair. "You're the only woman I've shared a bed with in over 10 years, besides Vanessa," he said, voice low. Christy nodded. "And you're the only man besides Derek." They met each other's eyes, holding the gaze for a long moment. Then, quietly, they drifted into sleep in each other's arms. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows. Ethan woke to the feel of Christy's body pressed against his, their legs tangled beneath the sheets. "Morning, sleepyhead," she murmured, voice husky with sleep. Ethan stirred, then stretched. "Good morning, beautiful." He moved to get out of bed, but Christy grinned. "You don't have to get up on my account." "I'll be right back," he said with a smile. After a quick and awkward trip to the bathroom, he wandered downstairs. To his surprise, Christy was already up, the kitchen filled with the smell of sizzling bacon and eggs. Ethan glanced at the clock, 8:30 a.m. She moved easily in his oversized t-shirt, barefoot, hair still slightly messy. He stood in the doorway, watching her, feeling something strange and unfamiliar, comfort. For a brief moment, he remembered how Vanessa used to make breakfast, how mornings used to feel before everything fell apart. But this felt different, better. "Damn," he said, smiling. "That smells amazing." Christy glanced over her shoulder. "Hope you don't mind me making myself at home in your kitchen." "Not at all," Ethan replied. "Feels nice, actually." "Not at all," Ethan said, his voice soft, oddly comforted. "I honestly can't remember the last time someone made me breakfast." Christy looked over her shoulder, a curious glint in her eyes. Vanessa never cooked. She did. At first, he said, picking up his fork. But then she said it took too long. Claimed she didn't want to smell like bacon grease around her clients. Christy snorted. Figures. Ethan cracked a smile. Yeah, exactly. She placed a heaping plate of eggs and bacon in front of him, and he dug in like he hadn't eaten in days. Damn, this is good, he mumbled through a mouthful. You cook like this every morning? Whenever I can, Christy said with a small grin. Their quiet moment was broken by the buzz of Ethan's phone. He glanced down. Jerry. He answered. Morning, Jerry. Working Sundays now. A chuckle came through the line. More than I'd like. Just wanted to give you an update. Your wife and her boyfriend left Vegas early this morning, around 6 a.m. They had a layover in L.A., and now they're on their way to Honolulu. Ethan's stomach tightened. Got flight details. They're on American Airlines Flight 31. I've got someone in Honolulu ready to track them when they land. Appreciate it, Jerry. Send me everything. Will do. Ethan hung up, his face unreadable. Well, he said, turning to Christy, here we go. They're on their way to Hawaii. Christy blinked, then looked away, the hurt flickering across her face. Meanwhile, high above the Pacific Ocean, Vanessa sat by the window of the plane, staring out at the endless blue below. Derek was passed out beside her, headphones still on, his mouth slightly open. She couldn't sleep. This was it. The trip they'd planned, the escape she'd been craving. For a second, guilt gripped her chest. Ethan's face flashed in her mind, steady, dependable, always trusting. 10 years. 10 years of marriage, of shared memories, of quiet dinners and lazy Sundays. And she was tossing it aside like it never meant anything. She shut her eyes. This is for me, she told herself. It has to be. She reasoned that in time, things would settle. She and Ethan would go back to normal. He wouldn't know. He never questioned her. A few lies, some half-hearted apologies, and life would continue. He didn't need to know. No one did. She'd made peace with her choices, at least on the surface. Her first real lie had been about children. She had told Ethan she couldn't have any, that her fallopian tubes were tied. The truth? She just didn't want them. Motherhood never appealed to her. It didn't fit the image she had for her life. So she made up a medical story, and Ethan, ever trusting, believed her. When he later brought up adoption, she shut that down too. Eventually, he stopped asking. She experimented with birth control, but complications made it hard to manage. She got pregnant twice. Both times, she quietly took care of it, paying in cash, telling no one. The second pregnancy had been Derek's. She didn't even blink when she terminated it. She hoped Ethan would never find out. It would ruin everything. For the first 7 years of their marriage, she had been faithful. But eventually, temptation won. A charming, wealthy client seduced her, and they ended up in bed. It happened a few times over the next year, and she told herself it didn't matter. It was thrilling, it was fun, and it didn't mean anything. Everyone had secrets, right? Then came Derek. Derek was everything Ethan wasn't. Where Ethan was disciplined and goal-oriented, Derek was impulsive, wild, unpredictable. He lived in the moment. No long-term plans. No structure. Vanessa was drawn to that chaos like a moth to flame. Ethan was the kind of man who made sure everything was just right. Patient, thoughtful, always focused on her satisfaction. Derek was nothing like that. He was fast, aggressive, and unapologetic. And she loved it. At first, they met in hotels, then started using properties Vanessa was showing. It worked, until it didn't. The risk of getting caught became too real. They needed privacy. The turning point came when Ethan, in one of his rare vulnerable moments, told her he felt them slipping apart. That night, she pulled away from Derek. She tried to refocus on her marriage. Cooked dinners. Made time. Played the part. But it didn't last. Derek kept calling. Kept asking when they could see each other again. She felt the itch return. Eventually, she gave in. And this time, she made a plan. She bought a condo. It was the perfect solution. A secret place just for her and Derek, away from prying eyes, away from Ethan's routines. She used her commission checks and filed everything under her name. Financially, they had always kept things separate. Ethan never questioned it. She justified it all. It was just easier this way. Derek once joked they should use the marital bed at Ethan's house. She refused. Even she had limits. As boring and predictable as Ethan had become, she still felt something for him. though less with each passing day. The Hawaii trip had been her idea. One final getaway before things got more complicated. She told Ethan she had a real estate conference in Las Vegas, and Derek made up his own story for Christy. They covered their tracks. A few texts, some phone calls, and Ethan wouldn't know the difference. Sure, she'd missed their 10-year wedding anniversary, but in Vanessa's mind, she planned to make it up to Ethan once she got back. A nice dinner. A long weekend getaway. Something to smooth things over. As long as the secret stayed buried, everything would be fine. Leaning back in her airplane seat, she smiled softly, imagining the warm Hawaiian breeze, the waves lapping at the shore. Derek had bought her a tiny bikini, barely more than string and suggestion. He talked about watching her peel it off right there on the beach, imagining the way she'd tease him in public. The thought made her body warm. Her hand twitched on her lap, and for a split second, she considered slipping away to the bathroom. But she didn't. Not yet. She'd wait until later. Vanessa checked her phone. No messages from Ethan. She wasn't surprised. He hated texting. Always preferred phone calls or face-to-face conversations. Typical. She smirked to herself just as the plane shook from a sudden patch of turbulence. The lights flickered. The engines groaned. Her stomach dropped. She glanced around and saw the flight attendants buckle themselves in. Passengers clutched their armrests. Some whispered prayers. Then the plane dipped again, hard. Panic erupted. Screams. Alarms. Oxygen masks fell from the ceiling like dangling ghosts. Vanessa's heartbeat pounded against her chest. No, this can't be happening. The plane was going down. The flight attendants shouted commands, trying to keep order. Chaos swallowed the cabin. She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking. Tears streamed down her face. For the first time in a long time, Vanessa Cole wasn't in control. She had seconds, maybe less. Back at Ethan's home, he and Christy had just finished cleaning up the kitchen. They sat down with fresh coffee, ready to talk through their next legal steps. Ethan admired how calmly and logically Christy approached things. She wasn't just smart, she was resilient. Sitting there beside her, he felt closer to her than he had felt to Vanessa in years. Then his phone rang. Vanessa. He glanced at Christy and answered, placing it on speaker. Hello. Jace. Vanessa's voice came through, frantic and choppy, background noise roaring around her. Vanessa? What's going on? Ethan sat upright, tension spiking in his chest. Not time. Airplane, going down. Static. Screams. More static. And then, silence. The line went dead. Ethan stared at the phone, stunned. He tried calling her back, straight to voicemail. Try Derek, he told Christy. She already had her phone out. A few seconds later, she shook her head. Voicemail. Ethan rushed to his home office and called the airline. After bouncing between departments, he finally got someone. There are preliminary reports, the airline rep confirmed. We're investigating a possible crash. Please leave your contact information. We'll notify you as soon as we have more details. Ethan gave them Vanessa and Derek's flight numbers. He also gave Christy's info. Then he checked the news. Nothing yet. He and Christy sat in the living room, flipping between channels. Then his phone buzzed again. A breaking news report flashed across the screen. American Airlines Flight 31 en route to Honolulu has gone down somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. No confirmed survivors at this time. Christy gasped, her hand covering her mouth. Oh my God. Ethan held her close, the weight of the moment hitting like a freight train. Despite everything, despite the betrayal, he didn't want Vanessa to die. He didn't want this. An hour passed. Then his phone rang again. He answered quietly. This is Ethan. Mr. Cole, a woman's calm voice said. I'm calling to confirm your wife's flight has gone down. We don't have further details yet, but we'll contact you as soon as we do. Thank you, he said, his voice thick. He ended the call. Christy wrapped her arms around him as tears spilled from his eyes. Moments later, her phone rang. Same confirmation. Then, Ethan's father called. Hey, Jace, his dad said. I just got home from church. Did you see the news about the plane crash? Ethan hesitated. Yeah, I saw it. His father sounded concerned. Is Vanessa okay? She was supposed to be flying back from Vegas, right? Ethan let out a shaky breath. She wasn't in Vegas, Dad. She was on that flight, heading to Hawaii. There was silence on the line. What was she doing in Hawaii? Without you, his father finally asked. Ethan swallowed hard. She was with her boyfriend. His father gasped. Oh my God. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I I don't know how to feel, Ethan admitted, his voice cracking. Take time off, son. Don't worry about work. I'll talk to Brian and handle everything on our end. Just focus on what you need. Thanks, Dad. Ethan ended the call and sat in silence. Emotion swirled in his chest, grief, disbelief, fury. He felt gutted. Not just because Vanessa was likely gone, but because of how it ended. All the lies. All the things he should have seen coming but didn't. There'd be no divorce now. No final confrontation. No justice. Just him. Left behind to clean up the pieces. He would have to deal with everything, her estate, the condo, the bills. There was no running from that. He looked at Christy, who sat quietly across from him. I still read, hands clasped together tightly in her lap. He stood up, walked over, and sat beside her. I've got an idea, he said gently. But I want to know what you're thinking first. Christy, Ethan said, his voice gentle but clear. What would you think about selling your place and moving in here with me? She looked up, her eyes still red and puffy from everything they'd endured over the past 24 hours. Are you serious? Yeah, he nodded. I've got an extra bedroom upstairs, and let's be honest, we're both going to have a lot to handle over the next few months. Maybe we could help each other through it. She sat quiet for a moment, processing. Then, a small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. Why not? She said softly. But there's one condition. Ethan tilted his head. What's that? You let me sleep in your bed, she whispered. With you. Ethan blinked. That wasn't what he expected, not yet. Everything was moving so fast, but somehow it felt right. Are you sure? He asked carefully. She nodded. It's been a long time since I felt safe or close to someone. But last night, I felt something I haven't felt in years. I felt satisfied and peaceful. Is that okay with you? Ethan exhaled, the tension easing from his shoulders. It's more than okay. Good, she said with a warm smile. I'll run home, grab my things, and be back tonight. I'll be here, he replied. Once she left, Ethan walked into his office and dialed a number he hadn't planned on calling: Vanessa's office manager. Hello. Hi, Tracy. It's Ethan Cole. Oh, hi, Ethan. How's Hawaii? She asked brightly. Ethan hesitated. The lump in his throat made it hard to speak. I've heard it's beautiful, he said, voice flat. Tracy sounded confused. I thought you and Vanessa were going together after the conference? No, Ethan said plainly. She went, but not with me. A beat of silence. She went with Derek, he added. What? Tracy gasped. Wait, are you serious? Yeah, but neither of them made it. The plane went down this morning. You've probably seen the news. Oh my God, she whispered. Do you know if she? I don't think there were any survivors. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I'll handle the paperwork. The company carries life insurance for all employees. I'll need airline records, flight confirmations. Can you help get that? I'll send you whatever I can, Ethan said. Before she could end the call, he asked, did you know about them? Vanessa and Derek. Tracy sighed. I'd heard rumors. Nothing concrete. But yeah, people talked. We don't really bring that stuff up at work, though. I understand, Ethan muttered. Thanks for your honesty. That's all I needed to know. I really am sorry, she said again before hanging up. That evening, Ethan and Christy curled up on the couch, watching a movie, when a breaking news report interrupted the broadcast. Footage played grainy, shaky, recorded from a nearby cargo plane. The screen showed a commercial jet spiraling downward, nose first, smoke trailing behind. Then, a violent burst of ocean spray. The anchor's voice was grim. American Airlines Flight 31 crashed into the Pacific just before noon. No confirmed survivors. The plane descended at a speed of over 12,000 feet per minute before impact. Christy gasped, her hand covering her mouth. Oh God. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. Despite everything, he felt a pang of sorrow. Vanessa had hurt him, lied to him, betrayed him, but she had once been his entire world. An hour passed in silence. Then Ethan's phone rang again. Mr. Cole? A woman asked. We're calling to confirm your wife's flight to go down. At this time, there's no information suggesting survivors. Ethan shut his eyes, absorbing the finality of it. Thank you, he said quietly. Moments later, Christy received the same call. Not long after, Ethan's father called. Jace, I just got home from church. Did you see the news? Yeah, Ethan said, voice hollow. His father paused. How's Vanessa? She was flying home today, right? Ethan took a deep breath. She wasn't in Vegas, Dad. She went to Hawaii, with her boyfriend. There was a long, stunned silence. "Oh, son, I'm so sorry. I didn't know until yesterday," Ethan added. "But now she's gone. Take some time off," his father said softly. "I'll let the team know. Handle what you need to. We're here if you need anything." "Thanks, Dad." Ethan ended the call, his mind buzzing. Sadness, anger, confusion, they swirled together like a storm. And yet, a strange sense of finality settled in. No funeral would be held. Vanessa's body was never recovered. Neither was Derek's. Their luggage had washed ashore, but that was it. Ethan and Christy each received $500,000 in life insurance from Acme Real Estate. The airline later provided an additional $175,000 settlement for each passenger's family. After taxes, deductions, and selling Vanessa's apartment, Ethan and Christy were left with over $1.6 million between them. He donated all of Vanessa's belongings. Anything sentimental went to family. The rest was tossed or given away. The bed was the first thing to go. Christy moved in permanently. Her house was sold, and the chapter they both wanted closed was now behind them. 3 months later, their relationship had deepened into something powerful, raw, honest, and new. One night, over dinner at a Texas roadhouse, Ethan took a deep breath, got down on one knee, and opened a small velvet box. Christy gasped, her hands flying to her face. "Yes," she whispered before he could even speak. "It's about time you made an honest woman of me." Ethan laughed. "Why?" Because, she interrupted, leaning closer. "You're going to be a daddy." Ethan froze, blinking. "What?" "I'm pregnant," she said, beaming. He stood, swept her into his arms, and kissed her with all the love and gratitude he'd buried for years. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you more," she replied, laughing through happy tears. "One favor, though," she added, teasingly. "Anything. Please, don't ever ask me to fly anywhere." Ethan chuckled and pulled her in close. "Don't worry, sweetheart," he said, smiling. "I'm done with flying for a while.